All right, so guys, I'm gonna go through hopefully 5 things that I think will be very helpful for you guys. These are just things that I started looking at when I was 13, and by the time I was 21, I realized a lot of things I was doing wrong, despite all the magazines that I read and all the fitness books and Schwarzenegger, encyclopedia, bodybuilding, and all that stuff that was out there at the time. Just a lot of things that over time I should get into. I got powerlifting, kettlebell lifting, and there's all these kind of major things that we see. So we see exercises being done, whether it's in a magazine or a video, but we don't really understand what's happening here in the brain. What's actually happening? What is that person thinking about as they move the weight? And I'm going to start off with the shoulder, because the shoulder is the thing. What's up, brother? The shoulder is the thing that's most implicated, in terms of injury, in terms of doing something wrong. Think about it. This thing is meant to go all the way there. It's all in socket. So I'm going to demonstrate the most common thing I know. John, why don't you lay on your back here for a second? And I'm going to show you 2 very different things about the shoulder. I'm just going to give John a basic instruction. Basic instructions to just give him his arm and he can just relax. Okay? So if John just relaxes his shoulder completely, it's very easy for me to just lift him off the floor. He's just dead weight. Okay? See how easy that is for me? Now, don't let me pick you up off the floor. Right? Now, if I do this, do you see how hard this is not going to pick him up? Do you see this? Okay? Am I faking it? Because you can come over and try yourself. Did John's weight change? Did John's body weight change? No. Okay, no. What changed? Don't answer it. Just relax again. Alright? So now I'm just doing this. Okay. Now, just don't let me pick you up. Okay, that's right. What's going on here? Now, all I did was say to him, don't let me pick you up. I could have done that to anybody. But what's happening here is exactly what everybody needs to do every time they do almost anything with their shoulders. That's bench pressing, that's push-ups. This is the thing that people aren't doing. What is it that he's doing? What's happening? He's getting tight. But what else is he doing? So I'm going to show you guys. Whether you realize it or not, okay? John's shoulder is moving toward the floor. The back of the shoulder is moving toward the floor and down. Okay? So as he moves the back of his shoulder toward the floor and down to engage his lat, he's now making his shoulder part of his body. Right? He's trying to make his shoulder actually straighten out the legs. Straighten out. Okay, get real tight. Even to your abdomen. Now, I'm going to actually lift him up. But you see how his whole body comes up. Okay? Do it again. See that? See his whole body, one piece. Now just relax. Here, you can easily lift it. So as he brings his shoulder down and back, he's engaging his lat. So I want you guys to start thinking about your lat as a shoulder muscle, because it is. I know everybody thinks of it as a back muscle. It's a shoulder muscle, because you don't want to rely on these little muscles to do the work. Your rotator cuff is 4 very little muscles, one in the front and 3 in the back. The one that's most implicated in shoulder injury is the supraspinatus, which is up top. Now, why would that be? This is why. Because anytime people do things, and this will be my next point, anytime people do things overhead, they don't do exactly this, because nothing changes. It's very easy to see it in a bench press. Like I get tight, my shoulders are down. So my shoulders are down and back. So I'm squeezing the middle of my back. Doesn't matter if it's a bench press, a dumbbell press. I get my shoulders down and back. I bring the weight down actively. Okay? But what you see in most people is they just lay on the bench and they just drop the weight. The shoulders come up. Especially overhead stuff. So if you're doing overhead stuff, the shoulder rides up. The shoulder rides up, no good. If you're loading it, you're activating the strap. This is how the supraspinatus gets caught. And so now watch. If I take okay? And just tap your shoulder. The problem is that most people don't have range of motion. So if I tell John, just stay like that. Now, keep your shoulder down and back. Actually, for the video camera, let's do it on this side. Do this side. You can say that, you can say that, just use your shoulder. All I'm gonna tell him to do is just gradually bring his arm backwards. Do you see how his shoulder stays down and back? Now shrug up as high as you can. That's how most people press weight, with their shoulder shrug. They can't press it, so they go, and then they use their track together. And the more you do that, I promise you, the more this space between your neck and your shoulder gets jammed up. And that's how the supersonics gets messed up over time. Thank you. So it's not that the shoulder shouldn't be able to do that. What you notice is you have a scapula. Wait, I'm going to use you real quick. Your scapula is really faced this way. It's right here, okay? This is your scapula. And I want you to start thinking about your scapula as your shoulder, because it very much is. So your lats are shoulder muscles. Don't stop thinking of them as back muscles. Because these muscles are way bigger, huge, compared to these little rotator cuff muscles. And your little front deltoids, your medial deltoids, they're way bigger. So how do I use these? Well, if I tell Greg, here, so just relax your shoulder. Shrug your shoulder as high as you can. Now, push down. As you push down, flex your lat. Push your shoulder down. You see how Greg's lat engages? I can feel, now shrug up. As soon as he shrugs up, that goes away. It's gone. That means that every time, if he's going to press a weight, if he shrugs your shoulder, he cannot, by definition, use his lat. He cannot use the thing that is the foundation of the overhead lift, or of a bench press, or of a dumbbell press. So if you just on yourself, if you just go like this, push your shoulder down, you can feel your lat engage. And then as you pull your elbow back, you can feel engaged. So when we do things like when we're over on these bands, and we're doing with these very basic reversal movements all the time, where we're just getting our shoulders down and back. You see? So I'm just getting my shoulders down and moving my elbows back, and you can see that I'm engaging my lats. Now the other thing that's happening here, that when we get to next, is your chest has to be able to get into extension. That seems like an easy thing, but it's not, because all day long, this is what we're doing. We're sitting down. And when we sit down, we get into these positions where our chest collapses. I know everybody's posture can be something correct right now, but this is just what we do. We sit, and our upper backs are very tight, because we're a very internally rotated society. We tight, we text, we drive, everything's here. We're worked like this. The opposite of what we do all day is this. This is the opposite extension. So how many times do you see people like this? Or just like this, or just like that? Never, right? Unless they're exercising. So exercise is designed to be, should be, correct. But what do you see in the average gym? In the average gym, people will. So if everybody knows that sitting is what we do all day. Exercise should be what you don't do. Correct it. It should be a lot of this, a lot of this, a lot of hip extension. So think about it. What's a kettlebell swing? Hip extension. You're activating your glutes, your hamstrings, right? When you're doing T's and W's, okay? And if we know that our shoulders are always internally rotated, from driving, from taxing, from sleeping, always here. So what should we be doing? External rotation stuff, right? We should be doing things that externally rotate the shoulders, that engage these muscles, that keep our shoulders back, that actually glide our scapula. So it's not that you shouldn't press, right? You should do the other things. So if you walk into the average gym, what's the average person doing? They're doing more sitting, whether it's on a bike. I mean, Peloton's what they're saying right now. You're fucking sitting down. You're sitting down, and you're sitting out all day, driving all day, being at work all day. You do more sitting for exercise. Now, it's not that there's no cardiovascular benefit, but if we agree that we'll get to our backs in a minute, that we're doing this all day, and this is the fundamental problem in society in terms of back problems, breathing problems, upper back problems, the shoulder problem becomes implicated because you can't do this with your chest. You can't lift your chest. I don't care if you keep your shoulder back. If your chest looks like this, that's how much range of motion you have. That's it. That's what you have. So if I'm collapsed here and collapsed here in my shoulders, which I have clients like this, it doesn't matter that you can get your shoulder down and back. As soon as they're here, this is what they got, and that's all they have. The problem is that they can't move their upper back. They literally can't. Now your upper back, your thoracic spine, believe it or not, is supposed to be not only be able to lift into extension, but it should be able to rotate. And if you don't believe me, watch any professional golfer today. The thing that you'll notice about professional golfers today, as opposed to 30 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago, professional golfers are just blocking out the lumbar spines. We now have the technology to understand how to keep golfers in the game longitudinally. And it has to do with the ability to recognize that it's your upper back that's meant to rotate, not your lower back. Your lower back is meant to be stable. It's meant to be your core. It's not meant to do this. Okay? You can do this, and then you can be Fred Coppers. Or any of these golfers that have chronic back problems, and there's many of them. So what we realize is that the upper back is meant to do this. So my spine is going, it's meant to rotate. See, I have very little movement in my hips until the very end. So I'm coiling my upper back. You see that? And I don't have a particularly mobile upper back. But if you watch a golfer, there's Google images, Rory Miller. Siri just talked to me, that was pretty fun. If you look up Rory Miller, for example, you will see, or any of these guys, just look at the upper back rotation. Just look at the picture. Look at that. And then when he's done with the swing, look at how much upper back rotation is, and both hands are still on the club. That's how they do it. All I'm asking you to do is be able to lift your upper back. Just be able to do this. So if we recognize that this has to be able to move, that has to be able to be down, I want you to think to yourself, how many people can cash that check in society before they lay down on a bench or whatever, or do push-ups? You gotta be able to cash that check. The next thing is what's happening in our lower backs. So there's two things here. Well, there's two main things. One is arching our backs. And so our ability to take our lumbar spine and arch it backwards, like in a squat or in a deadlift. One's a hip hinge, one's a squat. This right here is just a blown out disc. Just say goodbye to your back if you round your back in a squat or a deadlift. So just being able to do this really matters. Okay, how you breathe. You breathe into your belly, you brace your abs, you arch your back. That's just what's happening here, never mind anywhere else. But if I go to squat and I'm this person, if I have a bar on my back, does it matter that I can arch my back? Because here's what's going to happen. You're just going to pitch forward and down. You have to be able to, if you have a barbell on your back, which I don't recommend for everybody, to be able to be here. You see how much extension I have in my back? In my upper back? I have to be able to breathe in, and then I have to be able to sit back with the bar while my chest is up. If I'm here, everything pitches forward and my lumbar is going to round eventually. I can't get much better. Same thing. Is my shoulder internally or externally rotated right here? External. What are we doing all day? This. So just to be able to get your hand on the bar requires external rotation. How many people can cash this check? Most people go, it hurts when I put my seatbelt on. That's an external rotation movement. So just think about it, just in order to put the bar on your back, the checks you need to cash. External rotation, thoracic extension, packed shoulders, so I have to engage my lats. These are all things we just talked about. Now, I haven't even moved yet. Now I have to be able to breathe into my back, into my belly, and arch my back. So arching is really, really important. Anytime you're doing any type of hip hinge movement. That means any type of squat, deadlift, kettlebell swing. So that includes, single leg stuff, all that, arch your back. But the other thing you have to be able to do with your back is go into a hollow position. And this is like the most egregious problem I see. Because push-ups, for example, again, you can either work out or train. You can either work out or train. And I'm going to tell you that the idea of working out for most people is what causes these problems. Because they're not consciously doing anything with their body. Let me show you what I mean. Most classic thing is just a push-up. Okay, I can just, and I'm going to purposely do this wrong, but this won't look wrong to most people. So I just, because I was in the military, and one of the tests was push-ups. So I just wanted to do as many push-ups as I could in 2 minutes. The strategy to this would be for me to last for 2 minutes with as many push-ups as I could. That means I'm going to try to relax everything in my body for the sake of endurance. Okay. That's a problem for most people. But it's a problem in general if that's your approach to training. Let me show you what I mean. So I would just get down, and I'm just going to recognize the most efficient way for me to do that would be to kind of relax my knees, kind of relax my back, kind of relax my shoulders, and just not create a whole bunch of tightness and just move. See, I'm just pumping these out. For the same thing, if I want to hold a plank for hours and hours and hours, I'm going to try to just relax everything. Just relax, okay? Now, John, come over here. Okay, so if I'm just relaxed here, John, just put your foot on my back, like lightly. Okay, if he pushes down a little hard, see, my back will collapse. And if I don't have extension in my back, meaning if I can't do this without pain, I will really hurt my back. Really hurt. So my question to you is, what am I training here? The answer is nothing. You may be training some level of muscle endurance, okay? But am I practicing the shoulder back? No. Am I practicing keeping anything tight, my rib cage or anything like that? Am I practicing using my lats? Am I practicing getting tight through my body? No. So I'm not practicing any of these things that I just mentioned. The benefit of practicing these things that I just mentioned is that, if John come over again, is that if I do it right, okay, to train something, if I'm on my elbows, John, just stand on my back. So what I'm going to do here is create a lot of tension in my, John, you can stand on me.
The balance is right there.
No, then we'll have your balance. So he's on the weakest part of my back. So I'm just getting tight through my stomach so that I don't do this. Now I'm saying that because it is that is the load. It's gravity. So in order for me to counteract gravity, I have to tuck my pelvis, squeeze my ass. What does this look like from this end? This is what it looks like. It's the hollow position. It allows me to do this. This is hollow. So I take the same hollow position and I bring it into my push-up. I bring it into my plank. It's happening literally from the core. It's the ability to make that rib cage short. So that is also, where else do you see this? You see it in push-ups, you see it in planks. You would see it in things like ab rollouts. So if I'm doing ab rollouts, I would make my rib cage short. So I'm not doing this. This is going to hurt your back, I promise you. If you keep doing that, just arching your back, this is the inappropriate time to arch your back. You're counterbalancing, you're working against gravity. So that means they have to tuck your pelvis and then come out to come back. Right? You're trying to keep this short and tight. But it's also the key with pull-ups. It's the key for pull-ups. So I could easily get on the rings, right? And just relax my body and just pull up with my arms. Okay, but if I did this, like you see my back right now, but if I come up and get my body tight, I can now you can see that I'm clearly activating more muscles. How am I doing it? It's the same idea. I'm squeezing my butt. I'm getting this really, really tight. And I'm thinking about everything we're doing here, right? So you can either work out, and this is my thing. Do you want to work out or train? Training is the ability to say, what am I doing with my body? If I just want to work out in order to get a sweat or whatever it is, almost by definition, you can't do that. It encompasses the same thing, meaning like something like CrossFit. By definition, is ridiculous. I've been saying this not for 5 years, not for 10, for 20 years. Before anybody knew about CrossFit, John knows that it was Dragon Roar thread. Dragon Roar was the company that came on the scene and introduced kettlebells to all of America. Okay, so our case is Apollo 6. So I was in one of their very first certifications back in 2002. And they had a thread, and it was just, very, very bad technology at the time, but people would talk about things. And before anybody knew about CrossFit, there was CrossFit being brought up, these ideas of what these workouts are. And one thing that we see in the RKC community is how ridiculous this is. Let me explain further why. First of all, if you agree that what I'm talking about makes sense, you can either train or work out. Again, I was in the military, so to play that game, when I did my push-ups, that's what I did. I would just get into this really relaxed and just knock out 120 push-ups in 2 minutes. Okay? Or sit-ups. Okay? Because I can play that game too. But if you fucking train and then do that, it's easy. So if you train right, and then do that, it's easy. But if you never actually train and just do that as the workouts all the time, you'll never get really great. And I'll explain why. When you train, you're training your nervous system. But you're literally saying to your brain, okay, pat your shoulder, use your lat, breathe into your belly. These are all nervous system things. You're training technique. Strength is technique. Let me say that again. Strength is technique. Literally what's happening in your brain is the myelin in your brain is getting thicker every time you practice a movement. That includes the wrong movement. That's why technique is so important. So how many times do you think I've had over the years, the first thing I fucking tell them is, here, just roll these bands, and they're like this. Right? So their brain, they have so much myelin in their brain that has moved this movement, that in order for me to do a row, I have to shrug my shoulder. That's the technique that's been ingrained in them 10,000 times. And honestly, the more they work out through the years, the worse it is. Because they ingrained bad technique. So now, in order for their shoulder to stop hurting, that's assuming that there's not already a giant baseball-sized calcium deposit in your shoulder. You have to now say to them, look, you need a lot of reps of just learning how to do this. And a lot of them are like, holy shit, this feels so weird. It feels bizarre to them to move their shoulder down, back, use their lats, instead of these muscles up here. Well, see, so if they're doing that here, of course you're doing that with the push-up. You just watch the average person, their elbows will flare out, they're going to be way up here with their push-ups. So as soon as you start training to get strength, you're loading it, you're thinking about getting tight. Instead of this as your push-up, instead of this, right, I'm thinking about it, just mentally thinking about John's on my back. John's on my back, I'm going to get tight, I'm going to pat my shoulders, and I'm going to move very conscientiously. Same thing with my pull-up. I'm not just going to pull up, I'm going to get tight, and I'm going to pull up. Because then, if I do that, then, when the competition comes around, and I can relax, and do these things for endurance if necessary, I can do it. Now, I'll tell you that, how do I know this? Number one, 2017, I'm 42 years old. I get a bet that I couldn't, because I've been saying these things. I get a bet that I couldn't compete in a CrossFit competition and be a certain time. Okay? If you're unfamiliar, they name these CrossFit competitions different girls' names. And one of them is called the Set 5 Challenge. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's just you bench press your body weight 21 times. So whatever your body weight is, you bench it 21 times. Then you got to go over to a deadlift bar. You have to deadlift it off the floor 21 times with 1.75 times your body weight. Immediately after that, you got to go and do 21 body weight pulls. Then you have to stand with a curl bar and curl it 21 times, strict curl after doing all those pulls. Then you have to pick up your body weight and farmer's walk at 40 yards out and 40 yards back. So it's just simply, whoever does that the fastest time wins. Okay, the second place guy, and this was for money. This was for money, so people came out of the woodwork to do this. And this was down in Washington, D.C. The second place guy was 22, 23 years old, was 12 minutes. Second place. The first place guy was 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Okay? That was this 42-year-old guy right here. Right? Now I'm saying that to you not to impress you, but to tell you that it works. Okay? And there is a similar paradigm with what I'm telling you in terms of training and working out, as there is with nutrition. Let me explain what I mean. If anywhere along the way of my push-up, if, for example, yes, I have my shoulder pad, okay, and I'm really thinking about my breathing, but I'm letting my back push, there's a weak link there. Can I ever be as strong as I could be? No, right? Because I'm letting, so I can pack, but I'm letting this set. And you'll see this a lot. Okay, but if I want to train, I want to get my butt tight, I'm going to get my core engaged, I want to think my joint being on my back in order to maximize the tightness of my body. Because strength is about getting tight, getting real tight. Same thing with the pull-up. So if I want to go grab a pull-up bar, I want to think about there's weight on my body. So if there's weight on my body, I get tight to pull it up. Okay. So same thing with nutrition. If you're doing, there's 4, for example, just start with the 4 goals we talked about in UTC. If you do the first 3, but not the 4th, there's a weak link. There's a weak link, and any of those 4, I can go into enormous detail about how it's robbing you of your potential to feel better, to look better, and depending on who you are, it could be the most critical thing. So last time I'm having a conversation with somebody who has really crazy health issues, for example. And this person is, like a very conscientious eater. But because of the history of this person, they're relegated to what they can eat. They're very, they have a diet that needs to be narrowed down. There's autoimmune diseases going on, there's things going on. And because the perception is that what's being consumed is healthy, this person doesn't realize that it's the most problematic thing in the diet for that person. And then you have to explain to this person why that is. Now I'm saying that to you because it's no different than in movement. A squat is a great movement. Great, so is a deadlift. But not for some people. Right? If I know that you have 30 years of this, right? And if I know that you have low back problems, if I know that you have really a hip replacement, that's not the best thing. So there's other ways that we can get you to do that pattern. So just because something is great, a squat is great, kale is great, not for some people. I promise you, not for some people. I went into that in the seminar, and I can prove it to you why. But I don't have to prove to you why a squat is great exercise or why it wouldn't be good for some. So we always have to find a weak link. So now, if we're talking about shoulder pack, core engagement, all these things, thoracic extension, then so what about my lower it's your piriformis that's going to be the issue. It starts in here. So again, because we sit down so much, this gets very narrow. Okay, the opposite of this would literally be this, like where I'm engaging and I'm opening this up. That's what it does. The piriformis, actually, you can abduct or adduct your femur. So if I adduct, it's doing this. Abduction is doing that. So most people, when they're sitting down, they're just constantly this external rotation of their femur. And then when you challenge them with their toes straight, for example, you now have to engage these muscles out here. They're going to fall all over the place. They're going to want to do this with their toes. Has nothing to do with your feet. It has to do with what's happening in your femur and these muscles here. See, when I keep my toes straight and I'm doing this, see my hips are square? Most people want to do this. They'll want to do that because they want to engage their glute axes. This right here is my glute axis. My feet are wide. My toes are out of the way. These are really powerful muscles. If I want to engage these muscles here, I have to be narrower. I have to keep my toes straight. Same thing if I'm going side to side. If I'm loading things side to side, I have to engage these muscles. So if I'm doing something, it's not just I have to be squared up, but I have to understand how to engage this. Guess what? If I'm doing this, I'm not engaging. I have to keep my head square, and then I have to recognize what's happening here to engage these muscles with very, very good work. That's why we do so much stuff that shows in we do a lot of movement just to get these things moving. Same thing with my piriformis. It can get very tight. So when I squat, most people, you'll notice, they want to push their knees forward. That's because they can't open your piriformis very much like a clamshell. You want to open it up as you sit back. But when people open it up, because I told you it's implicated with the femur, this giant part of your femur, has to go up here. That's where so the top of your femur is what we call your hip. So now, because I'm saying, hey, sit back, open this up, get wide, what happens to knees turn? The knees turn, right? That's happening for two reasons. One, your piriformis, but also these adductors get super tight. Why are they super tight? Because how often are you like this? Just opened up, like real, just relaxed and opened up. Almost never, right? We're sitting most of the time, either our legs crossed or just here. But these get super tight from sitting. These muscles, your psoas ties all the way up into the bottom of your diaphragm. These giant muscles, they come all the way up and tie right up into your lower back and your diaphragm. And we keep it short all day. So these muscles are really strong. But they also are like primal response muscles. Flexion is primal response. What do I mean? If there was a loud noise all of a sudden, when everybody go like this, loud noise. When everybody go like this, ah! Everybody would immediately go like this. You would immediately go into flexion. And that's what the body knows anytime something is a challenge. Your body goes, this is scary, this is a problem, go into flexion. So as soon as you challenge your body to do something it doesn't want to do, it wants to go, oh my God, what are you doing? It wants to do this, just in general. It's scared. So you have to challenge through breathing, through mental cueing. Okay, what do we tell you? Big toes down, knees out. Because that's the next thing that happens. If I'm just sitting and I'm opening this up, knees turning, stop turning your knees and push your knees out, punch my feet. This is what you see now. See my toes? Go do that. Now, is this a toe thing? Is this a foot thing? Or is it what I just told you? Is it a glute medius, minimus piriformis thing? Understand? It starts up here. It has nothing to do with your feet. It has to do with, you couldn't do this, right? So now, I'm telling you, think about making your butt wide. Open your knees. You start opening your knees, your feet cheat. So now you're going to say big toes down. And then they start to realize this is all they got. That's fine. That's all you got. So now, I'll say, let's make it better. One of the ways to make it better is to include things like reaching motions. spine, it's called axial extension. So I can tell you to do this, but as soon as I put bands in your hands, so you guys have seen, you guys all do this, this is the opportunity to explain, the brilliance of what's happening here. But if I have something that I can push against, I can push, and I can continue to push while I get my ass back, 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 back. If I'm just trying to get my ass back, I don't have this other thing to push against. So if I can give you something to push, that allows you to create this axial extension this way and that way through my spine. So through the top of my head, through my lower back, I can get very, very long. So it's about getting your hips back. Hip hinge is about moving your hips backwards. I can't tell you how many people come in here for the first time, and this is their hip hinge. Okay, this is why you're backwards. This is, okay, how is their hip hurt their back? Bending over. Most of the time it's taking a baby out of the bathtub or out of the crib. Okay, what does that movement look like? It looks like this. Are my hips back? No. My hips are back when I do this. When I do this. You're not going to hurt your back if you move your hips backwards. So that's the key. And if I load it, I have to make sure that my knees stay out and my big toes stay down. Okay? Is there further things going on than that? Absolutely. The next big thing is ankles. Because we don't have much mobility in our ankles, my ability to keep my heel down. So you guys have seen this a million times, and you've heard me say it a million times. Well, I should just have a video of it all day. So if I tell a person, lunge onto this box, listen to this. Do that. That is a person who's pushing all their foot, they can't keep their heel down. I'll say to them, keep your heel down. Keep it down. Push off the whole foot. Okay. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? Okay, what's wrong with you is, and this is super common, is that this right here, they don't have. They don't have this ability to bring your knee forward and have this, or they'll get jammed up in here. So, ankle mobility is huge to be able to squat through do a lot of these exercises. When I do a single deadlift, I have to be able to have that mobility in my ankles. Again, just like the shoulder can do this, the ankle should be able to do that. It's a ball and socket joint. So, I recognize there's a lot here, but I want you to understand that, and the same thing with the wrist up. If you want me to give you one more thing, same thing with the dumbbell. Here, watch. If everybody remembers the game Mercy, and if you had a big brother like me who was almost 6 years older than you, he would just come home every day and just, break my wrist. Let's play Mercy. But this brings back, this is like PTSD for me. That's Mercy with a dumbbell, right? See this? Okay, yet people want to do this. People want to do this with the dumbbell and play Mercy with the dumbbell. Okay. Would you punch a penny bag like that? I mean, we make fun of it. Stop hitting like a girl, right? If you see this. A punch has to be here, right? Totally straight wrist. So I'm going to take everything that I just did, pack my shoulder, right? Keep my wrist straight, and now I'm going to come down. Now, which one looks stronger? This one or that one? Because if I keep doing that, you see with the dumbbells, I'm going to start getting wear, I'm exaggerating, but I'm going to start getting wear and tear in my shoulder and my elbow. Elbows hurt because something's happening in the shoulder or wrist almost all the time. Elbow gets caught in between. This is supposed to do this is supposed to do that. The elbow bends. It has very little motion to be able to be like a ball and socket joint. It can a little bit. But if I keep doing this on the bench press or with my dumbbells, I promise you eventually the inside of your elbow is going to start to hurt. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking about punching the ceiling, packing my shoulder, coming down nice and straight. The body really, really likes straight lines. And the last thing I'll tell you is, similarly, it also likes to be stacked properly. So notice that the whole time, when I come down, notice my forearm. Okay? When I come down, you see how my wrist stays over my elbow? I'm not doing this. and I'm not doing this. I'm keeping pretty much my wrist over my elbow. For most people, this is what you want to do. You can do very, very light fly motions where your wrist is slightly outside of your elbow, assuming you have healthy shoulders. But most people, if you just go a little bit deeper on your bench press, you'll get the same muscle activation in a fly, and your shoulder will stay safer, because I can keep my lat packed really tight, really nice, and press off of it. It's the same thing if I squat, it's no different. As I squat, I want my knees to stay over my ankle. So as I come down, my knees, by the way, this is a knee. This is a knee. This right here, people, that's not a knee. No, the whole thing is your knee. Just like this, the whole thing is your ankle. So this entire knee should stay over the entire ankle. As I squat, I come back, I'm here. Anytime I deviate from that, if I'm too far here, or if I'm too far forward, I'm going to put pressure where it doesn't belong. Why? Just think about a column. Is a column really, this is really strong like this, right? Really strong. I can stand on it. But as soon as I do that, when I stand on it, why not? It's going to fall. So how is that any different than this? Than that? How is that any different? So if I have a lot of weight in my hands, do I want my forearms to be like this, or like that, or like that? Same thing with my knees. Do I want, if I have a heavy bar on my back, do I want to be like this, or do I want to be here? Make sense? All right? So it's about stacking. It's about stacking the joints. Okay? All right, so I can keep going, but we got 2 minutes left. Are there any questions or anything that you want to clarification on? All right, well, hopefully that was valuable to you guys. Go ahead, bro.
Are there any things in your mind that trigger, like when you said getting baby out or working, like I see here, I never remember when to, unless you're telling me, when to short, when to, like,
so in general, right, just as a general observation, when you squat, when you deadlift, that's when you want to arch. If you're just standing, you just practice squeezing your butt and getting your abs done. Like, whether you're rowing, whether you're doing T's and W's, just think about being in a post. So you find yourself standing, pressing something overhead, just think about keeping this short and tight. That's it. Triceps, anything where you're just standing. If I tell you to sit down, if I'm telling you here's a heavy load and sit down, then you arch. But if you're just standing, or if you find yourself like in a plank position or push-up position, that's the equivalent of standing, but you're horizontal. Right? Make sense? That's where you would stay short of rotation. Any other questions? Yeah.
You spoke earlier, say for example, we started with the shoulder. You talked about recruiting the lats and such.
Yes.
But that's strictly for the purpose of strength, as opposed to a time when we may want to isolate.
The shoulder? Yeah. So even if you're isolating the shoulder, this is a great question. Even if I want to isolate these muscles, I'm still doing it. And here's the thing right here. I'm still doing this. Okay? I'm still doing this. Why would I do it? Just think about a gymnast. When they do an iron cross, you see them like this, or do you see them like this? Literally, they go like this. And now, you see their shoulder packed like this, and they're going like this in the iron cross. You cannot do this in an iron cross and try to keep your shoulders. So you treat your dumbbells the same way. You keep the shoulder packed, and you think about keeping the shoulder down while your elbow comes up, and you will absolutely engage these muscles when you get these two. Because right now, I'm not. So I can do my dumbbell work anywhere here. And just don't internally rotate the dumbbell, because most people can't catch that shit. Any other questions? All right, excellent. All right, guys, so if you're going to do kettlebell class, we'll go outside and we'll knock it out. Thanks for coming today, guys.
Thank you, Tom.
You bet.